Yo, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how basically just how something like US stimulus talks can affect financial markets to give you an idea just how far-reaching fundamental analysis goes and how it impacts every currency. Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there. If you're trading the Australian dollar, you only need to be focused on Australia. That couldn't be further from the truth. I'm going to show you, how does something like these U.S. stimulus talks going on affect the markets? And then, just further reaching how, you know, world events affects all markets. And so you need to be paying attention really to everything. It's not that hard. It doesn't. You don't need to be reading all day, but you need to be keeping an eyeball on different things, regardless of almost whatever you trade. Whether you trade US 30, whether you trade gold, whether you trade GJ, whatever it is. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button so you're always one step ahead to watching my content and supporting the channel. Let me know I'm doing something right to keep making these videos. And if you haven't already, do smash that like button. Helps the YouTube algorithm a lot. And if you never want to miss a video, turn on those notifications so that you're always up to date when I release a video. So with that being said, let's hop over the computer. But first, you can see we got a little spider right there. That shows you it's October, Halloween. I've been in the festive mood this year. I have a pumpkin on my desk. But anyways, let's head over the chart. All right, so this is the Australian dollar versus the Japanese yen. Oop, got an alert here. All right, so Australian dollar, Japanese yen. So how is something like this affected by U.S. stimulus talks? Well, first, let's just cover what U.S. stimulus talks are at the moment. Here we go. So U.S. stimulus talks. Well, essentially, a couple months ago, the U.S. passed over, I think, $1 trillion in stimulus, right? They sent out checks to all Americans. They sent out, all Americans that are not obviously like children. Children didn't get $1,200, but adults got $1,200. And some there's a small business relief program and all these different other types of government assistance, right? And that helped keep the stock market up, along with the Fed has been easing, blah blah blah. So, but recently, we've seen the effects of those gone down. We've spent all that money, and now, people and the government want another round of stimulus. And so, basically, the last few weeks. We have the Republican side and the Democratic side. They've been going back and forth trying to come up with a deal. The Republican side is, obviously conservative, and so they want to spend less money on this stimulus. The Democratic side wants to spend more money on the stimulus, and that's why they're having trouble passing a deal. Because, the Republicans, they think, we can't spend that much money, and the Democrats like, whoa, we need to help, it doesn't matter, whatever. So regardless, they have their views, and so it's been hard to pass a deal. And lately, last week, Trump, I don't know what that is, that's an M. Trump said, hey, the Democratic side is not really cooperating. So you know what? We're not going to pass a stimulus until after the election. that obviously hurt the market's optimism, right? That makes the market and investors, when I say the market, I mean the general marketplace and everybody inside of it, um, it makes them more fearful, right? Quote unquote fearful. Uncertainty, um, basically have a more negative outlook on the economy because there's not going to be more stimulus. And so that caused the stock market to drop. And so I just want to highlight how these things affect all currencies, right? So when we saw that news, we saw it was either this pullback here or this pullback here. I think it was this one. We saw AJ shoot down on this news. Well, why would the Australian dollar and the Japanese yen be affected by something Trump says that has nothing to do with Australia or Japan? Well, it comes down to the fact that these currencies are they're responsive to risk, and what risk means is essentially global investor sentiment. So, um, and the U.S. is a big economy and it's important. So if something negative happens in the U.S., it has a ripple effect all over. So the Australian dollar does well and gets bought up when there's optimism in the global marketplace. So if US stimulus was to get passed, the Australian dollar would probably go up in value, right? So it's not all just about Australia. And the yen is a safe haven. So when the global marketplace is more fearful, people buy the yen, which is why the Australian dollar got sold off because it is a riskier currency. So when there's more uncertainty in the market, it gets sold, and so the Australian dollar Japanese yen went down. The yen gained value, Australian dollar lost value when Trump announced they weren't going to pass any stimulus. Um, right, and then so let's fast forward here. What happened here? Why why did this huge move happen? Well, essentially, let's head back over to the whiteboard. So what happened basically is this rallied right here because Trump backtracked. He's like, "Hey, actually, never mind. Let's pass some stimulus. Let's get a lot of stimulus going." So that caused more optimism, caused the yen to sell off, Australian dollar to appreciate. So what happened here? Well, as you can maybe guess, U.S. stimulus talks broke down, and basically what I mean by that is it wasn't going well. Both sides were like, yeah, we probably can't get a deal, and that caused some fear. Actually, a good amount of fear caused the stock market to sell off, and this thing headed lower, headed lower, and so it headed down, and you could have taken advantage of all these moves, by the way. I've talked about it before. There's a site, forexlive.com. It's free, has all the news you need, and if you're monitoring that if you're monitoring it frequently, once you see these headlines come out, you know how it's going to affect markets. You can trade this and you can profit from it, right? This is why these markets move. It doesn't move because of a trend line. Investors do see trend lines, and as you can tell, price does respond to it. But just a simple trend line is not going to move the market hundreds of pips. That's going to be all from sentiment and fundamental, investor, what's going on in the world, and that's all stuff that you can't see on the chart, you can't find on the chart. So it's helpful to get a good context of the fundamentals behind what you're trading, and it can give you trade ideas. Man, just a little side note. I don't know if anyone else has this, but anytime I'm like recording anything, I yawn a lot more. Um, Like, let me know if any of you guys have that. If you guys yawn more when you're like recording something or performing or something like that, because it's weird. I I'm not tired. I'm not sleepy, but as soon as I turn on like the camera, or I'm recording something, I just have the urge to yawn. It's the weirdest thing. Um, but let's get back to what we're talking about. So this happened because the markets were like, oh, you know what? They said they probably won't get a deal. This is bad, worse for the U.S. economy, thus the global economy, uncertainty, and thus you could have captured this. A lot of actually swing effects members, people who are in my training program, they caught this sell either right here, or right here. A lot of them caught it right here. They caught this move down and are actually still holding. Um, but yeah, you could take advantage of these things. And then there was a little bit of optimism at the start of this week, right? Just to show you guys, like this has some impact on the market, right? This happened because Nancy Pelosi, right, on the she's a part of the Democratic side of things. She said, you know what? Let's try to get a deal done in a couple days. 2 or 3 day deadline. Let's get a deal done. Sort of as like a short term like placement, basically until after the election, and it should be easier to pass a deal after the election. So let's come together. Let's try to come up with a little deal that we can pass just to ease the economy a little bit. Caused a little bit of optimism, but there hasn't been a whole lot of progress. It doesn't look likely a deal is going to be passed, and so that's why it's just sort of chopped around and kept a little lower, because there's not a whole lot of optimism about that. Right? Another example. Let's see. Another example. What can we find here? Gold. Gold has gone up. Why has gold gone up? More uncertainty, right? More uncertainty in the market, and that's causing, obviously, safe haven gold to appreciate. Uncertainty comes from, well, there probably won't be stimulus passed, worse for the economy, good for gold, right? So yeah, it affects all markets. Let's look at the S&P here. Um, it's, even if you're trading stocks, like this works, stock market has obviously sold off because of this. Stimulus, not likely, heading lower, right? Um, so yeah, it all just comes down to what's going on at the moment. It's not always going to be about U.S. stimulus. It might be about Trump having coronavirus, right? That affected the yen, that affected Australian dollar, that affected the stock market. What's some other things? U.S.-China tensions have. North Korea launching a rocket has affected, currencies. It doesn't matter. Anything will affect it. And I just wanted to make this video to outline what's been going on with U.S. stimulus, sort of an update, and B, show you how something like that can affect the markets and take advantage of it. Don't trade blind. This is something I'm going to be that's a slogan I want to run with in the coming months, is don't trade blind. Because too many people are like, I took this trade. Why'd you take that trade? Oh, well, there was a trend line. That's why it went up. It didn't go up because there was a trend line. It didn't go up because it hit the 38 Fibonacci. It went up because who knows? It could have been a deal was passed. There's optimism about something. This person won a certain election. You know, you name it. The central bank of a country is thinking about cutting rates, or this central bank speaker is more optimistic, and whatever. There's like tons of reasons things move, but they're all real world things, right? Not on the charts. Big banks and investors and traders, they might look at some technical analysis, but they make decisions mainly on what's going on in the world, right? The underlying fundamentals. And that's what I wanted to drive home in this video is, hey, don't trade blind. Know what you're trading. Know why you're trading it. Know why it's moving how it does. And you'll know what to look out for. If there's a big event coming up, if there's, a lot of uncertainty, maybe you want to stay out of the market, wait for that uncertainty to clear up. Like Brexit, I'm not touching the pound at the moment, because if you're looking at it, oh, that's ugly. This is ugly, and there's a real world reason you can identify. You can guess, hey, this is going to chop around. How do you know? Because of Brexit, right? Brexit is sort of up in the air. Are EU and UK going to keep talking, trying to come up with a deal? The UK is sort of threatening to cut off talks and just leave the EU with a no deal, and which would be worse for the UK economy. But if talks continue, that'd be good for the pound. Potentially, if they come up with a deal, good for the UK economy. So, and if they left with a no deal, that would be negative. So, the market is sort of uncertain at the moment what's going to happen, and thus, investors don't want to take any, real risky positions, because it could go either way. So what does that mean? Well, it's gonna chop around, right? You're gonna see it just wait for this uncertainty to clear up. And so you can say, hey, I'm not gonna trade this. I'm gonna wait until I have an edge. Wait until I know the direction, right? That's all it is, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. More to come. I will be posting at least 3 times a week is going to be my goal. If I get more, that's great. Sometimes I might get 2. We'll see. But yeah, definitely be more consistent with the uploads. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
I come from a town where most of the people are so close-minded. They go into school and they work in a job, but they don't even like it. I won't be put in a box. Nobody telling me what I should rock. Nobody telling me what I should